Hi y'all, Julianne Wood here. I'm looking and feeling a little bit more like my old self. And with that being said, I'm going to get right to it. Don't want to waste any of your time. I thought today I would talk a little bit about the paints I use, and I'm going to be real quick about it. But I thought I would show you my palette and the colors that I'm using today. My palette changes sometimes, but my art professor in college always told me to only add something to your palette if you felt it was really going to get you a little bit further down the field, or in the case of plein air, having the right colors with you in the field, especially if you're starting out, can make all the difference and can help you get to the colors that you're seeing that much quicker as you're learning your color theory on site. So without further ado, I'm going to point the camera onto my palette. I am going to put up a photo of this so you'll be able to enlarge it and see what the colors are, but I'm going to read them off as I go down the list. For the most part, the brands, I'm not married to a particular brand of oil paint. I usually will stick with something that has more of a buttery consistency to it and has good color pungency. And in some cases, I'm looking for something that's a little more transparent depending on what I'm doing with the color. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this around and show. This is my palette that I have here in the studio. As I mentioned in one of my last broadcasts, this is plexi. This is not glass. I was a picture framer for many years, and I cut pieces of glass much larger than this, and I've had them blow up in my face. And it's a good alternative to glass, especially if you are handling it yourself and you don't want to handle a large piece of glass. So you can see here I've got quite a few. I'm going to start at the left. I do use two different types of white. I use a titanium white and a soft mixing white. And I do know that these are student grade. These are Winton's, but they seem to work just fine for me. I'm not as married to a specific brand on that, and these seem to perform well. We'll talk about why I have two different whites later on in another session, but suffice to say one is more opaque than the other. So I have a titanium white, a soft mixing white. I have a radiant blue by Gamblin, which is essentially titanium white and ultramarine blue, but this one seems to have a little bit of magic, so I keep it on my palette. I love the Grumbacher blues, and I go for a French ultramarine. I also love Prussian blue, and as of right now, this is a student grade. This is the Rembrandt student grade, the Van Gogh. It works quite nicely, and I'm learning how to manipulate the Prussian blue, and it can be used for so many different things, and I'm learning that right now. So that's my learning color for the moment. I do have Permanent Matter Deep, which when mixed with almost any major color on the palette will create this really yummy warm dark. So I invite you to use it sparingly and see the magic of that color. Ivory Black, which is very versatile. I do use that for a couple of different basic mixes, puddles of paint as I call it when I start my painting process. I also use transparent red oxide, and this is the Gamblin student grade. I prefer this over the professional grade because it is a little bit more transparent, and I just like the tonality of the color. I use this to do my initial block in a lot of times. And then I have my little power couple here. I've got my Phthalo Emerald and my Quinacridone Rose. It did take about 8 years for me to learn how to say quinacridone, so don't feel bad. But these two together produce a really yummy dark that is extremely versatile. It is a little bit on the violet side, but it can be tweaked to be bluer or greener or earthier as you might dictate for the piece you're painting, though. But they are a real power couple in my toolkit here. I do also have an emerald green, and I invite you to discover how versatile a true emerald is. I prefer this particular brand. They do vary by brand, so you really have to just play with it and see what the effects are. I do have my CAD Yellow Deep here, as well as, and I'm going to skip over this color for a moment, my Permanent Red Medium and my Permanent Yellow Light. I do have cadmium colors in my painting box here at the studio. I have gotten them locally when I have run out of these two. I've always used the permanent colors instead of the cadmium colors. They are a little bit safer than the cadmium, but I've just preferred them. I also have a cool yellow in my toolkit. Gamblin's Radiant Lemon is really yummy, and it can really push back your backgrounds and create atmosphere very nicely. And then another workhorse I have, and I do have a big tube of it, is Naples Yellow Italian. And if I were to have one color that is in my limited palette, it is this. You can make it warm, you can push it back and make it less significant and creating distance. It's an extremely versatile color, and it's just really beautiful to boot. If you add a little bit of some of your primaries to it, it will also give you an ochre-y type of color. I do have a yellow ochre light in my painting box. I don't use it all the time. And the colors up here I don't use all the time. A lot of them I mix, or they're just little impact colors. I do have a sap green. This is a really wonderful sap green, as sap greens go. And sometimes I just, I've been trying to mix all my greens, and sometimes this is just really a better option for me. So I do keep it around. I do have a cobalt turquoise. This is really great in skies. It's also a good impact color. So I always keep a tube of it around. And then I have these two guys down here. We've got our dioxazine purple. Yeah, I haven't learned how to pronounce that one yet. I keep a tube of this in the studio. I don't normally take it with me on site, but sometimes if you have a really, really crazy purple, it helps you get there. And then this Portland Warm Gray, I do carry this when I go to Maine more so, but it is, if I was going to do a limited palette, it's a very good kind of illustrative color, base color to use. So I have used that when I've done a more sketchy type of approach. So this is my, my current palette. If I go, if I'm hiking somewhere, I may not take all of them with me. I do carry them in my backpack in a little DOP kit. It's made out of recycled sail material, and so it keeps them safe in there. And student grades, the Wintons are fine. If you're starting out, I recommend them. I like the flow of them better than the Gamblin 1980. Although the Van Gogh I've been extremely impressed with. So I have a local supplier here. So if I can't get the Rembrandts I'm looking for, I go with those. And we have a kitty cat. So we're really happy that Gracie's in the studio today. She makes every day special. I'm going to turn this around because I want to end this up. If there are some subjects, some things you've been wondering about, feel free to message me. I'm looking for ideas, just some quick hit things to keep people interested and keep people watching. I will talk about my brushes at some point and why I use what I do and what I like. Brushes are extremely personal though, so I'm happy to share what I use, but it may not work for you. It's kind of like having your own personal golf clubs, but just know that I am recovering. I haven't pushed any paint yet. It's been a week and a half. but I've had paintings in my head. I've had some things I wanna get into. Just a note for the folks in the Nook, in Roanoke, Virginia, the Sidewalk Art Show has been postponed to August, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it yet. So there's a conflict. So I need to think about that. But just know that anything and everything that I'm posting online is fair game. If you see something you really, really want, you know, the work is for sale. So, and it is a livelihood. So I hope everybody is hunkered down and surviving the quarantine well. I'm still recovering, but I'm a heck of a lot better than I was this time last week. So I am hoping to make this more of a daily thing, just for a few minutes, or every other day. So keep an eye out. I promise to create a file online of these videos to where you can go back and look at them, and I will post a photo of what I have displayed here today with my colors if you're curious. And I just want to say hey. I'm waving out to everybody. I see the two Stevens, Stephen Barbary and Stephen Wysocki, and I see Mark Snediger, and it's really, really great to see everybody out there. Keep the faith, keep on painting, and make it count, y'all. Take care.